people, it's Major. Yes, that's the name my mama gave me. We're here for Mind Blowing Magazine's Men's Edition 2022, featuring none other than my brother, Chandler Moore.
What up, bro?
What's happening, man? Super good to see you. Did you like that? I said super good to see you.
Super good to see you.
Because I mean it.
Yeah.
Listen, you have wondrously shown us kingdom in a way that allows us all to finally say, yes, this is it. This is it. I want to start this by saying thank you for showing up, for saying yes. I don't know how difficult it is for you to say yes to the call, but it is mighty that you have done so. I know I'm a few years ahead of you by age, but there is a wisdom.
A little more than a few.
Okay, we'll go with it. We'll go with it. That's disrespect. It's all right. But the wisdom, bro, that you carry is so inspiring. It's refreshing. It's encouraging. And I can only imagine the challenges that it presents because you have to basically live that which you give. And so we can get into that. But first things first, if someone was asked the question, who is Chandler Moore, how would you answer?
Oh, I would say I am a country boy who is a husband, father. I have 3 kids. I have a beautiful wife. I am a lover of all things communication. So through music, through talks, through messages, or however someone can be communicated to. I'm a lover of that. So I think that comes out in a whole bunch of different ways.
Yeah.
Style-wise, music, all type of stuff.
I think as you realize, even in marriage, you're saying you being a husband, communication is probably the quintessential element that can make or break. Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah. But, a mentor of mine, Bishop Bronner, said, where there is avoiding communication, negativity will always fill it. Keep the communication flowing.
Yeah.
And I know it's important to you. You're a country boy. Talk about that, because you're not just a country boy. You a son of a preacher man.
Yeah.
Like talk about the upbringing. What is it? Is it
Charleston?
Charleston.
So yeah, my dad has been pastoring about 30 years now. I'm 27, about 30, 35 years.
All your life.
All my life.
All my life.
Yeah. All my life. I've definitely had to fight.
Right.
All my life. No, yeah. So born in church. I think I missed my first Sunday maybe in 2020 of not being in church on a Sunday. So
I get it.
That was my life. But man, my dad is a musician. So
yes.
Grew up playing behind people like James Cleveland.
Yeah.
Going to something they call GMWA, Gospel Music.
That's it.
America, growing up in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's a musician. So sings, does all of that. But I think the biggest thing that I admire him, not just the man he is, but he is a brilliant communicator. I think the love of communication through what I have for, whether it's songwriting or whether it's something visual or whatever it is, I think because the way he masterfully communicates a point he is trying to get across, whether it's in conversation or whether it's behind a pulpit, it's like I see where you're going. I love it.
So take us to a Sunday morning. Like, what was Sunday morning for you as a kid?
Man, Sunday morning was a blender. It was so once I started realizing consciously understanding what church was, I was probably about 5, 6, or 7. And that was around 2000, 2001.
Yeah.
And around that time, the church.
I'm a few.
Yeah, you
additional
a few times
years.
3. A few times 3 years.
Yeah. I was like, whoa, 2001? Okay.
So I think around that time is when the church, especially black church, my dad's church, Pentecostal vibe, non-denominational, but Pentecostal.
Okay.
Charismatic.
Yeah.
Very, very much so. So I think around those years are the years when the church worship style started to like be more open to what else was out there. So in my church, and I think my church was probably one of the few churches in our city that was open to that type of stuff. So we had choirs, but our worship leaders would do a great and mighty is he.
Yeah.
Great
yeah.
but then after that would go into a Hillsong flow of I will exalt thee. But like with 3-part harmony, good like dun dun dun, like you get the whole. So that was my regular Sunday.
Yeah.
That was, I don't want to jump ahead of myself, but that was my regular black experience on a Sunday. Like I didn't know who the people who sing this song is this, or the people who sing that song.
Right.
I had at 7 or 8, I had no cognitive.
So you were born into that immersion of the intersection of black and white gospel.
There was no separation for me.
Bro, I'm getting chills because it makes so much more sense from what we know you as today.
Yeah.
So your information started early that it was like these can live together.
Yeah,
this
sure.
isn't like
It's
an
always lived
experiment for
together
you. It just is what it is.
Yes. That is the point that like I've struggled with communicating because I mean with gospel legends, like legends who cannot understand.
Right.
Like, dang, your contemporary people.
Yeah.
Like how, like what is it that makes you be able to change your black sound or your black experience to. I'm like,
and it's like, and you haven't manipulated anything.
Yeah, I can't.
Yeah,
like
this.
I can't process like, come like this was like there was not a white person in my church.
See,
that's my black experience.
Yeah.
Like,
that's beautiful.
Singing Hillsong in 3-part harmony.
Right.
With some synths added and a full drum set. It's like
I remember
normal to me.
I grew up just on like the traditional Baptist church, and then it transitioned into non-denomination.
Yeah.
But you were born into when it was forming into non-denomination, and that was the thing.
Yes.
Non-denomination was like we're stripping everybody away from feeling like they have to idolize religion over relationship.
For sure.
It was like relationship was what they showed you from the jump.
For sure.
I was a kid that was like, we gotta understand it's more about relationship, guys. Just try this.
Yeah.
But it's a beautiful thing to speak and to finally hear somebody voice that they were born at the time that was starting to happen. The transition was happening.
And I would even say like the journey for me was weird because even though my dad's church was, kind of a pioneer, like pioneering our city in that space, because of what I was seeing, I picked up a guitar and kind of went like far left. So I never, there was not even a space for me in my dad's church.
Oh.
So that's the other side of it. So like, I went far. I started watching Stephanie Gretzinger and Bethel, and I had spontaneous.
Stephanie's my girl. That's my sister.
Oh my God.
That's my sister.
So I started watching that stuff, and I had spontaneous. I would just want to sit there with a piano and a pad, everybody, and let's just sit here and see what happens. So, but that was too far for him. So, growing up feeling like rejected almost in that sense, because it's like, dang, I can't even do this at my dad's church. And then being a minister of music is at 16 years old, at 16 years old, like leading 60 and 70-year-olds and doing whatever the heck I'm doing.
Right, that are stuck in their ways. And you're like, no, but let me tell you what heaven sounds like. This is what God showed me heaven sounds like. It's like where all of us come together, and then there's strings. Like, we don't have to be caught up on the...
Yeah, like, it don't have to be as programmed. It don't have to be planned out. Let's just see what happens. So that was the other side of it, that I'm now after, 10, 13 years of, like, being in that space, now it's just like, oh, now the world is having to catch up.
Right.
That was, and that gives me language because it's like, no, that was just being started at that time. It's not like people they didn't maybe not understood you or had capacity or even language for my call at the time.
Right.
And you have to resolve in your heart that it's like not rejection almost. It's just like not time yet. Like,
shout out to one of the leaders behind this magazine, my big sister, April.
Yes.
I believe she heard from God in making certain that it was me who interviewed you, because there's a lot that I see in your walk that I dealt with in trying to find a space when it's like, God, I know I'm moving with you.
Yeah.
But for some reason, it doesn't feel like my puzzle piece fits with everything that's going on. I was always the different kid. They appreciated it, they used it, they maximized off of it, but it was just finding home. And it seems like now that things are working for me, it was me understanding that when that scripture speaks on there's a time and a season for everything, that is also what it's referencing. It's referencing where you're at, that the making was necessary for the right now, because your making has been the catalyst in which God is doing the breaking on us from the traditions and the religiosity and all of these things that we thought we needed to pack on our journey to getting to know Him.
For sure.
You're like, no, unpack that and just be.
Yeah.
Bro, this Maverick City, broski. I get happy. I get happy when I see on social media and I'm like, and like y'all post something, and I remember what I first saw was you and Stephanie and there was some other guy. I don't know everybody's name on the team, so forgive me. So name the folks. Okay.
Brandon, Dante.
Yeah, I know
Naomi,
Dante.
Joel.
Yeah.
Aaron.
Naomi, she's special.
Naomi is
godly. Who else? Joel. I'm
Aaron.
Yeah. Okay. How did Maverick come about? Mm-hmm. Let's talk about that. Then we'll talk about how I'm a fan. Like I done bought merch. I called you and you still owe me on camera.
A hat.
Let's make sure we know that, because I got it. I was looking for the 2020 Maverick City hat, and you know what? You got the power to tell them to make that.
I need to.
You know what I mean?
I need to send it to you.
I done bought all the other merch. Major don't buy merch, just merch to be buying merch. You know, so talk to us about how Maverick City became.
Yeah, so this story is different from every perspective. It's one of those, for this time it started here for me at this time. So for me, it started back in end of 2018. I went to my first writing camp. So what Maverick City started as was writing camps, where we would just bring people from different cultures. Our founder, Tony, had a lot of relationships with people of just different areas. So Bethel people, Hillsong people, Passion people in Atlanta.
Yeah.
But then he also had connections with Dante. So Dante brought me around.
Right.
Brandon Lake from Charleston. I mean, me and Brandon grew up in the same city. They never even met each other since before Mav. So it started as these writing groups, like a melting pot for all these different cultures.
Right.
To where we just get together. You would write with somebody you would never even write with.
Yeah.
Or like that you have dreamed. Like I dreamt of writing with Stephanie.
Yeah.
And the first writing session was with Stephanie Grazier. So it brings people like that together, like people who are in this season of their lives, people who are inspired by this person. So it's really cool. So that was the first thing. That was in 2018. The beginning of 2019, we did like you know how you demo songs that you write?
Yeah.
So we went to Reading, did a writing session with some people from Bethel.
Yeah.
And we demoed the songs in like a worship space. We like invited some people over to a writing house. Hey, just sing these songs, let's see how it feels. The end of the recording, once we listened back, we were like,
something's happening.
This is something.
Yeah.
So we're like, let's just drop it and see what happens. Like, we don't have to have a name. Let's just release it and see what happens. And then I remember Tony texted me. It was like 2:30, maybe 2 o'clock in the morning. And one morning he was like, Maverick. So I was like, okay. And I typed it in Google.
Right.
And I was like, this is my life.
It.
I was like, this is me. Like, I'm a Maverick. It was like, it's something clicked. I mean, the unorthodox one who goes against the grain, one who takes a different way.
Let me tell you how tapped in the spirit you are right now, because for me, I'm all about, I love educating people.
Yeah.
So we can say words that may be common to us, but oftentimes people don't, if they don't use the language, they don't know.
Sure.
But I was literally going to say, define Maverick for people. And you just started flowing with what it is. Keep going.
Unruly.
Keep going. Yeah.
It's like, dang. Like, and when I read it, I was like, this has been my life. Like, when you are called and when you are assigned to something, the Lord rarely ever, if ever, puts you in a space where it will be accepted first.
Yeah.
I think the way the Lord tests your faith and even your patience with what you're called to is He's going to put you in an environment that does not believe. Look at the life of Jesus. Jesus was born in a place where there was unbelief. I mean, the Bible talks about how Jesus goes back to Nazareth, and He's like, I can't even do miracles because no one believes in what I do because of this is where I'm from.
Right.
So I think the Lord placed you in seasons, in environments, in friend spaces, in family situations where your assignment is not believed in.
Yeah.
Just so you can build the fortitude and even build the tough skinness enough that when it is time, you're not affirmed by men, you're affirmed by God.
Yeah.
And whether the applause come or applause don't, you're not fazed. So I think that Maverick really put in perspective. It gave one word gave language for my whole life. I mean, this ring is a horse. It's a Maverick.
Yeah.
And I've dedicated my life to it because this is literally, like, people see Maverick, it's like, oh man, this thing popped off 2020. No, this thing popped off in 2008 when I was in this small 7 people coming to church.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there on the piano having an encounter with God, and I do the same thing today.
That's
it's the same well.
Listen, I was just talking to somebody because literally I'm like an unofficial publicist for y'all. Like I tell so many people, especially when they want to know what's new, and I'm just like, you got to listen to this group called Maverick City, because we were talking about how you guys move on those stages. First of all, y'all are doing stadiums. Stadiums are not easy to fill.
So wild.
Stadiums are not easy to fill, so we're clear. That's an only God thing.
For sure.
It's an only God thing.
For sure.
And so even in those stadiums, there's something that you do. Oh, I was talking to Jason McGee, my bro. And he was talking about how you guys still find a way to stay in the intimate space in mind and heart so that the flow can be authentic and true. Bro, I get it. And I honor it because, like you said, even if it was just 7 to 8 folks at the church, this is what you were still doing.
Yep.
I saw it when you were behind backing my brother Travis. And that's where I first discovered you. And, shout out to Travis and his ministry. I know that there was a lot of making in that process. I know there was a lot of breaking.
Come on.
I know.
For sure.
I can. There were times that I would see you and I'm like, there's more in this, bro. There's more in him. And your heart to serve was just as mighty as your heart in leadership. That's what I want to make clear to folks. And I want people to know, you didn't just say I'm a rock star because that's what circumstances have presented. Y'all are literal rock stars, kingdom rock stars. And if anybody tries to get too religious on that, Daniel talked about it. You commit to righteousness, you will shine like the stars. And that's what's happening right now. So speak to how you move considering all of the attention that is on y'all now. Like, you have legends that are like, what are you doing? They don't get it. And I'm talking about successful legends. I'm not naming folks, but we're very clear.
For sure.
Yeah.
Man, it's weird. I think it's gonna sound weird, but the negative side of not doing it for attention is you're not prepared for attention. Yes. So like, you know what I'm saying? Like when your motives are actually right and you're just doing it, having fun, being creative, just doing what the Lord, you feel like the Lord is giving you to say and sing and write, is you are not prepared for the trauma of attention. Yeah. So I think I'm still learning, especially because since it's popped off, 2020 really was the year. It was in the middle of the pandemic. I got married in 2021. Mm-hmm.
Salute to marriage. We're gonna talk about that. Yeah.
So I was in the middle of a lot. I was moving locations. I was in the middle of a lot of transitions. Mm-hmm. So and being a PK, I've always been used to eyes on me, but now I'm having to learn how to have eyes on me and still stay focused on what the assignment is, because this is the truth. Let me break it down.
Come on.
Musically, this really can say this about any area of life, but specifically right now, for me, musically, how people are introduced to you is how people will limit you. So, how people were introduced to me in 2020, most beautiful refiner. Yeah. I'm on guitar, all this stuff, in a small room, is how people now expect to see me for the rest of my musical career. Now I'm having to learn how to stay focused. Galatians 5 talks about, I was reading this morning, 1:10 talks about, if I'm living to please men, that's all I'm gonna get, the reward. But if I'm living to please God, then I have to forsake all of that. So I'm having to focus my attention on, which is tough in music career. Mm-hmm. I'm having to focus my attention on, yes, these applause are coming, these eyes, the attention is on me, blah, 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 blah. But if I have to stay focused on what it actually is I'm called to do, because the assignments change. Yeah. Purpose doesn't change, but assignments change. And I feel like I'm
Say it one more time.
Assignments change. Purpose doesn't change.
Purpose doesn't change. Assignments
do.
Yeah. And I just want to pause on that, because I want people to grasp that. We limit God when we think he's stuck.
Come on the last thing.
Last thing.
Come on.
We limit the wonders. We limit the possibilities of seeing God in the fullness of his glory by being stuck. And honestly, I think a lot of people move in that space, not intending to displease God.
Yeah, for sure.
They think because that was the last place he was, that he must always be there. And if we're talking about a living thing is always moving.
Come on.
And so I love that, and I just wanted to make sure we had a Salah moment so that people can grab hold of that. Assignments change. Purpose does not. Yeah. But assignments, be ready to say, okay, did that, check. Yeah. Okay, on to the next. What more, Lord? Come on. And as you were talking about sticking to the assignment. You're hearing all the noise. You're hearing all the people, because they're screaming your name like a rock star.
Our first tour date in California, Stockton, California. Yeah. Traumatized me like none other. Literally, it was our first time coming out as Maverick City, our first show, first public thing, concert, whatever. Yeah. And it was like what is going, people bum rushing doors, people following me in hotel hallways. It was like, oh, this is crazy. And that's trauma. So I'm not going to. It's traumatic.
But I think it's fair. It's necessary for you to share it, so that people that are fans, while they mean well, they need to know that it can be creepy, and it can also be impacting in a way that is not healthy for the very thing that you are celebrating.
Let me tell you.
And so, because
very true.
I can relate to when, this is why I love you, when that hit and I went to these concerts opening up for all these superstars, and me going into the audience because I was like, I want to support.
You want to talk to people?
I want to support the artist.
No.
I want to support the artist. So I'm standing in the back, and then word has it, Major's here. and to feel yourself being pulled and closed, and it's just, and that's you know, that's
A different world.
that's a different world because
sure.
they want a lot more.
Yes.
And they'll say it.
They want a lot more than
Whereas
pictures.
they want more than pictures. And hurry up and give me
They
a
want
light.
more than a
And hurry up and
selfie.
give me a light. But the thing is, at least they're honest there, because
some
in
people
in the gospel, what you can find is there's a lot of humanity that flows under the guise of righteousness, and so oftentimes they present one agenda, but they have a totally different. So just imagine which you do have.
Yeah.
You do have the gift of discernment.
For sure.
You do have it. I know you do. That's even why you look at people. Your daddy has it too. And so that's why you see people, and you can see. So to be traumatized by the hype, it's like, okay, they're coming and saying this, but I'm seeing something and feeling something different.
Too many different.
You know, so preserving yourself in the stewardship of staying before God, so that that hedge of protection follows you everywhere you go is necessary.
And staying before Him, because we were never designed to carry glory too. So it's just too much. Like, I think a part of the trauma is like, I was not designed.
Say that one more time.
I was not designed to carry glory from any human. So I think the trauma, a lot of that trauma, especially, I mean, we see it in our church culture right now. I mean, church is going through it with, you know, pastors and worship leaders and ministers. Just, it's because we weren't built to be on this hill that is, we weren't.
We were. So what were we built for? Let me see how you answer this, because I think I have an answer.
I think we were built, of course, to serve, but the way we serve in a lowly manner. I just don't know. Because in our culture, people who are serving, the Bible talks about the greatest of these are servants, and it seems like people who serve get elevated. I don't know how
to reconcile it.
To serve.
Okay.
And to not, like, be seen.
So I was talking to my sister, Courtney, not too long ago. Courtney Harrell, brilliant soul, a beautiful, surrendered soul that you have to meet at some point, songwriter, singer. Yeah. And we were talking about humility. The South and a lot of the traditional church has taught us that humility is denying your reality, it's hiding away, being timid, pretend, and really that is false humility, because one thing we have to realize is that humility is understanding that even in my greatness, because we have to recognize what God is doing. And nothing God does is not great. Everything God does is great. So if you're operating in a God thing, greatness is going to be that which you are. But in that, always make room for more. So even in my greatness, this is humility, so we can help some people. Even in your greatness, there is room for more. Never will you be the only thing God uses.
Come on. So true.
And so she was helping me understand that, and she was saying, think about it, when Jesus was washing the feet, it says, and Jesus knew who he was. Humility, love, knew that it was God, and still served, and still washed the feet. So it's making space and making room to understand, and I say this, far too big is the sky for only one bird to fly. And oh, how beautiful is the night when more than one star shines. God utilizes it all, and he desires that we all do it together. That's why a Maverick City hits like it hits, because there's a collection of surrender that only pleases the heart of God, and it makes room for God to do what God desires to do. For sure. So God's like, stadium? Say less.
For sure.
Because I know that even in a stadium, they will worship me as if it was just the audience of one. Because that's what we see. Yeah. So, bro, I applaud you, and I want you to know how authentic it is and how sincere it is. I take notes, and I don't just take notes from everybody. I take notes from what I gather from you guys, and it's inspiring, it's encouraging. So we have Maverick City. We know that there's, the touring and all that stuff that's happening. Crazy. We're excited about that.
It's gonna be wild.
Wild Kingdom. I post that under y'all's post, under you or Maverick. I'm like, this is Kingdom. Yeah, this is Kingdom. And then all of a sudden y'all named the whole thing Kingdom. So I'm like, this is just a line. Yeah. So you're welcome.
Percentage.
You're welcome. Yeah. You're welcome. Publishing. But so you have that stuff happening. Maverick has not only blessed the church and blessed the world in giving an example of how kingdom can be experienced. You've really inspired a lot of mainstream artists, from the Biebers. I heard Diddy's, like, what the heck is going on over here? Like, who are some of these folks, and how does that make you feel? How do you move in that?
Yeah, Justin was definitely.
I love that dude. Like,
I'm trying to tell you.
That's another little brother of mine that I don't know, but like, yeah.
I try to tell you, he's the most saved person I've ever met. Yeah. As far as loving Jesus, man. It's been wild to hear how Maverick has revolutionized Jesus music for him. Even Diddy, somebody like Diddy, who's one of the funniest people I've ever met, but really solid guy with wisdom and passion in the heart for the Lord.
Diddy has lived.
Bro.
He has lived.
You hear that man talk, you feel like you're talking to like
he's
an
lived.
old church mother, like who has seen the faithfulness, and it's amazing. So hearing Diddy, who loves old gospel music, but is loving that there's a new gospel sound. I mean, I would tell him about certain people. I was like, man, have you heard this? He's like, man, he said, that's great, but this new Mav.
Yeah.
Like, it was like, I was dang. So what it's doing in that space is like, wow, like people, it warms my heart, because it's like, dang, people really do love the church. That it's just, you just got to give them something fresh, something new. Yeah. So it's been really refreshing to see people like that and people in those spaces be affected by it.
How does it feel when you hear somebody like a Justin or any of the others when they're like, I didn't know that I was qualified to experience God this way? Because I know you've heard it, because I've been in the realms where they're just like, you just make God and church just so accessible. Yeah. Like, what does that do for you, and how does that shift the work that you guys do?
That's weird. I think specifically my relationship with Justin has been one of the Lord using his life and his wisdom and his experience with his relationship with the Lord to enlighten what mine has been. Meaning, I've limited my relationship with God to such a church situation. Yeah. So what your question is saying, I've learned that more than they probably have. I have learned that God is way more accessible than what I thought, because of my own. You almost kind of cracked something over a little bit, because of my own religious tendencies. Like, I've learned that. I mean, I remember Justin calling me one day, listening to one of the songs, and Lee just started ministering. He was like, man, do you know that God is like, and I'm like, dang, I'm here singing this song, and you're believing this thing more than sometimes I think I do. Right. So I've learned that God, I mean, I was sitting in the studio, we were working on a song with Diddy, and before he works on anything, I mean, before a meeting is had, he has a house full of staff. Before a studio session is had, before a blunt is lit, before like whatever is happening, this man plays either Maverick City or Karen Clark Shear, and goes in.
Yeah.
When I mean like the reverence of God that comes into every space, I'm like, dang, I've limited my access to you. Like, I think in church sometimes we adopt the Adam syndrome. Like as soon as we fall, as soon as we have a
Shame,
bad thought,
guilt,
shame,
hide. Yeah.
like we run.
Yeah.
And it's like people, who we would think are like, man, they really need the message, or they really need Jesus. They have a better understanding than we do sometimes.
And I don't even think it's so much a better understanding. It's a pure. It's an it's a direct thing,
unfiltered.
because they reverence it in a way that does not. We've learned the performance thing. It wasn't intentional. It was like, where at least it's almost like fake it till you make it. That's kind of how the culture did growing up, teaching us what it looks like, but not what it is to be. So, even as we have conversations on a lot of the political conversations on the right versus the left, and I'm not going to speak to the things because we can go there, but it's like you want certain laws, but is God more concerned about the relationship than he is a law? Because I don't want to see a bunch of laws and then people are secretly doing it. I want lives changed by a relationship that says, well, whether this is okay or not, my conviction has told me otherwise. And so I see that you guys represent that. I thank you for your heart, for being willing to do that. I pray for the covering to continue to cover you in that. You stay a vessel, because that's really what we've been designed as, to be vessels. The glory goes through us to him. Goes through us to him. And the more isms we take on, the more clogged our agency, our channel is. And so that's beautiful. Something even more beautiful is family. Family. You are you Gen Z or are you millennial? You're border?
I think I'm a millennial.
How old are you?
I don't know. 27.
27. You're a millennial. So thank you. So I'm just at the top of the millennial. All right.
Really? Okay.
So just
You're not that
be
far.
respectful. Just be respectful, son. All right. But so you're young with family. You have children. You have a new child that just entered the world.
Woo.
You have a beautiful wife. That I think every time I see her, she represents, and it's funny because I was saying she represents grace, and I think that's part of her name.
Her middle name,
I was just like,
her first name means grace, and her middle name is Grace.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah. That's beautiful. So speak on family. Like, what is that for you? And
I think growing up in an environment where, our family time was really strained because of ministry. My dad, being full-time ministry, overseeing a whole bunch of churches, dealing with crazy behind church people. I think our family time was very, limited in what it was. I'm grateful for what it was because it taught me certain things, but because of that, and because of what I do, and because of my career, and because of the way my life is set up, I am I try to be very intentional on family time. I try to break the mold of what family time has meant, to me growing up, or even to her growing up, or even to just in general. I think we have to be especially now, families have to be super intentional on doing what works for them.
Yeah.
Like there's no model, there's no template for every family, and I think that's what we're learning now. I mean, we're not even a year into marriage yet, but we're learning the rhythm of this is us.
Can I offer this?
Yes.
While I definitely believe there is no set template, make sure you see it as no set template, because I think God in your journey is exposing you to examples to draw from.
For sure.
Not to mimic,
For sure,
not
for
to
sure.
copy,
For sure.
but to draw from,
For sure.
because the many relationships along the way, because you're so busy, your teaching is along the journey.
For sure.
And along the demand of
sure.
everything. So make room for that. While you are making it your own, look to the things that inspire you.
Yeah.
And draw from that. And as you all work together, I'm almost 2 years married, so I respect the young
need
marriage.
all of it.
Bro, I am learning so much.
I need all the wisdom.
What is something
It's
that
wild.
you've learned?
Man,
I want you to say one of the things you said about what marriage is, what relationship is. We called it a. When you look in.
It's a mirror. Oh my God. It is a mirror. I mean, yeah, I think one thing I'm learning this first year. One thing I'm learning the first year is, one, there are still some things that I am.
Yeah.
Patterns and habits I'm still trying to, because I mean my longest maybe relationship in my life, probably like serious relationship where I was actually like it was like 9-10 months.
Yeah.
After that I was bored. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
So I'm like learning like, there's this that's still in there, and it's like you're waking up to it every morning because you have somebody with grace who's like, hey, that boundary needs to be set.
But the beautiful thing is for you to understand, and I think you're even learning this even with Maverick and your journey, is that nothing is wasted.
Yes.
That God utilizes all of it, the good, the bad. He utilizes all of it. That's what the tattoo says. Nothing is wasted. My sister Nia Allen gave me that when she has a song called "Wait," and
Love
and
me. I just saw
like,
her yesterday.
Yeah, like she talks about the nothing is wasted, so I say it nonstop. So the nothing is wasted, that Romans 8:28, you understanding that it all works for your good. Don't punish yourself. Don't get stuck in that space of over punishing and over convicting yourself. It's a beautiful thing to have remorse for the wrong, for the things that you know you can do better, but understand that God can use that too, and He's using it. And also, as we see as a mirror, you're a mirror for your wife as well. And so there's things that she's seeing about herself as well, that if perhaps she's more timid, she's learning, I can use my voice. My voice is necessary.
For sure.
No voice, no change.
For sure.
So, so there's different things that you all can get from each other. I love the way that you honor her publicly. I think that you should continue to lean into that because God is going to continue to honor you with that. Remember, we're loving her like Christ loves the church. That's all of it. That's all of it. Good Jesus. Whoa, we can. I'm always here for you, bro. I'm praying for you on that. And we're speaking to all young brothers that want to be godly husbands and stuff.
Man, Kirk said something. He told me, I think I was just about to be married, or I one of either. He said, marriage is the highest form of transformation to be like Christ. He said,
period.
He said it's the highest
period
form that God uses to transform you.
And I'll even say this: our premarital counselor said, "Welcome to the university of your partner. In this university, you will be at the top of your class. Why? Not simply because you're learning and you're getting the lessons, but because you're the only student. And guess what? You will never graduate. So get comfortable."
That's so true.
And bro, I am learning that, and I'm just smiling at stuff now that I used to be like, yo, I can't do too much more of this. And then I'm realizing myself, but she's doing much more of you, and you start seeing you volley back and forth. But always remember that's family, marriage, that's the first ministry. And I guarantee you, He'll give you the resource, the endurance to do everything else. Make time for that.
For sure.
Even more than that, make moments for you to catch your breath. That's going to be the key to you winning and sustaining in this thing. Catch your breath so that you can breathe life into the thing that is your family, and then that can then breathe life into everything else. Before we go, I want to talk about style because, bro, I mean, you kind of were dressing pretty decent before, but now, y'all on something. Y'all on something, and that whole lineup with Maverick is a vibe. And Mind Blowing magazine is about style and culture and faith and all those things. The intersection y'all represent quite well. What's up with this style thing? Like, talk to me.
Man, I think you have to, they used to say dress to where you want to be at. But I think the principle that we have is like, we know who we're called to, and we know what they look like. So,
brother,
and I think all of us, there are some who love fashion way more than like
Dante.
I wasn't
Dante with his couture. I'm like, Dante
is a fashion head, like way more than all of us.
Yeah.
And I'm probably at the bottom of loving fashion, but I love feeling nice. I love looking nice, but I can wear the same thing every day and be okay. But I know the audience that the Lord has assigned me to, and I know that a big part of reaching them is looking the part and dressing. So I love, like I did white beaters last tour.
Yeah. But it was a vibe. It wasn't. And we're not gonna say wife beaters anymore. We're gonna call those.
I said white beaters.
White beaters.
What do we call them? Tank tops?
Okay. White beaters. That's what it is. Let's just call them tank top undershirts.
Tank top,
yeah,
undershirts.
Tanks.
The
white tank.
The white tanks, not white beaters.
Yeah. Listen. This has been a lot of fun. Yeah. Wait, your wife is a stylist.
My wife is a stylist. She is retired.
A whole vibe, though.
She literally has not styled me for a very long time.
Why? Are you too difficult?
I'm simple. So she gets annoyed with my.
When you're just like, yo, just
give me a black t-shirt and give me some of them jeans right there. I'm good.
This is a beautiful thing, man.
Yeah.
I'm excited for
your jacket right now is very stylish.
Well, can I say I do appreciate the fringe. It is very.
Yeah.
I have.
I didn't know you had stuff like that in your closet.
I actually do have fringe. This was gifted for the shoot, but I like these pants though.
Those are nice.
Now these pants is a vibe too. These pants is a vibe, and God's been.
You are very stylish.
I understand that,
no,
and I think for the longest, I came from a family where we didn't have a whole lot, so we made the little that we had. It had to be treated well, and so I would just make the most out of it, the best out of it, and so now for me it's just my cool factor, and that's what I'll say to you. Stay cool, bro. Yeah. Stay cool. Cool is what people laud. That's what they celebrate. I say this in almost every single interview I have. The definition of cool is the unapologetic embrace of your uniqueness. When you embrace your uniqueness, you find your distinction. And right in the heart of your distinction, you've unlocked and discovered your superpower. Dang. Creation starts to applaud you because finally you've shown up the way God intended all along. Yeah. So do you, because that's where the power is. Yeah. I'm telling you, it's going to be a whole lot of influence of try this and try that and try this and try that. But only go where you know God is. Yeah. Because it's going to be true. Each one of us were designed to be an answer to a specific need in the earth. There are many that will probably try to be a Maverick City. They can be inspired, but they'll never be another. And God will use the authentic thing. Don't chase an already answered need. Yeah. It's a beautiful thing, bro. Thank you for being you. Mind blowing is what you represent. My brother, Chandler Moore.
Love you, bro.
Yeah. Love you too, man.